and welcome to the Manfred Olson Planetarium at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. My name is Jean Creighton. I'm an astronomer. I direct the planetarium. And I'm really pleased that you are here with us to talk about Asian celebrations. And in particular, since tomorrow is the first day of spring, it is my pleasure to have with me Ahmad Hosseinizadeh, who is a friend and a colleague, to talk to us about Iranian culture and how spring is considered the beginning of the new year. Welcome. Welcome, Ahmad.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you, Jean, and your team, especially Victoria and Maya, for working in this presentation. And second, hello to the audience. I'm Ahmad Hosseinizadeh, staff scientist at the UWM in physics department. Yeah, I'm ready to start.
Okay, and we're going to start with the a little bit of the geography of the region, since it is fairly intense, fairly complicated.
Right. Yeah, but before I start, I should say that the Middle East, as you know, is the region that Iran is located. And it has been very chaotic in the recent years and even during the past decades. Nevertheless, the region is an attractive and kind of archive of several thousand years of history, civilization, and culture. And unfortunately, these have been ignored, hidden somehow uh, because of these political issues. So let's put politics aside for an hour and focus on the history and culture. Of
Wonderful.
course, I'm not a historian, but I will try to present hopefully a different picture of my homeland. Yeah, so Iran is a country, as I said, in the Middle East, surrounded by 7 countries in land and maritime borders with a few countries in south. Caspian Sea is in north, a Persian Gulf in south, which is connected to the Indian Ocean and free seas. In general, the climate of the Middle East is hot and dry, which is the case for the most of Iran as well. However, because of 2 large series of mountains in northwest and southwest of Iran, I should say that it is a 4-season country at the same time and has a similar climate variation like in the US. Central and eastern regions are dry, like in Arizona, with desert and kind of bald architecture. You see in this picture the city of Yazd.
Oh, sorry.
Don't worry. North of Iran is so rainy, on the other hand, and yeah, north of Iran is so rainy, on the other hand, and therefore quite green in summer, like what we have in Wisconsin. And then northwest and west of Iran, they have mountain climates with their special architecture. As you see, it's a village in Kurdistan. In some houses, the roof of some houses is the yard of the other houses on top. And finally, the southern areas of Iran, they are warm and humid, even in winter, like what we have in Louisiana, I would say.
Very attractive.
Yeah, the population of the country is about 80 million. The capital is Tehran with around 10 million people. And it's the political center of the country for about 200 years. And of course, there are a few more important cities, such as Isfahan right at the center and Shiraz in south or southwest. And as you know, Shiraz wine is well known. I'll shortly come back to these cities.
So it's useful to give us, in broad strokes, some of the milestones in the history, the long history of your country.
Right. It's a very old country, as you said. There are several prehistoric monuments, sites or monuments from the Stone Age, including some cave paintings, rock arts, which are not shown here, of course. But regardless, the history of Iran is divided in 2 major parts. Before Islam, called Ancient Iran, and after Islam, usually called Islamic era. But here, let me start from the first civilized group in southwest of Iran, who built the kingdom of Elam and lasted for about 300 years, with the city of Susa as capital. This maybe can be seen in the north corner of Persian Gulf. And that is a region between the rivers of Karun, Tigris, and Euphrates in Iraq, in modern Iraq, and very susceptible for agriculture. And that's why the first civilized groups appeared in that region. By the way, the city of Susa is still alive. Yeah. So the Elamite monarchy was almost at the same time as some other civilizations in the Sumer, Babylonia, and Pharaonic Egypt. Then the Medes in northwest of Iran, they started growing their territory, and they established the Median Empire with the city of Ekbatana as capital. Currently, they say Hamadan for that city, which is one of the largest cities in Iran now. And in about 2,500 years ago, Cyrus and then Darius, they established Achaemenid Empire, which was one of the, people say, the largest empire in ancient world. It continued for about 2 centuries, more than 2 centuries, until it was dissolved by Alexander. And the capital was Persepolis. You can see that on the picture below that map. And then Parthians, which were another tribe, Iranian tribe at the central Iran, they got control the control of the country back. And finally, Sasanian Empire. They governed the Persian plateau for about 450 years until Muslim conquest happened around 600 AC. And with that, the Sasanians just joined the history. And the history of after Islam includes many imperial dynasties, but the most famous one is Safavid Empire, centered at the city of Isfahan. Most famous because most recognized historic sites after Islam, they are from that kingdom.
I see. All right. It is unusual to have to display 2 flags for a country. Yeah. So first of all, tell us a little bit about the history of the 2 flags and also the colors that are the same.
Right, sure. So let me start with the last one. The 3-colored flag has been used for about 150 years during the late Qajar kingdom, and then Pahlavi monarchy, and then Islamic government. So green is a symbol of nature and happiness. White is representing peace, like for many countries. And red stands for martyrdom and braveness. So going back to your first question, the current Iranian government uses the flag on left, but the oppositions around the world, they use the one on right, which was before revolution, with the sign of lion and sun at the center.
So tell us about the symbol of the left flag.
Yeah, that's a kind of a logo for the name of a god in Arabic, Allah. And there are some letters on top and bottom of the white areas. They are also saying, again, God is the great, but in Arabic.
Right. Okay. All right. So we want to celebrate and acknowledge that this is what's the word I want? Multicultural society. Exactly. So let's look at the various ethnicities who live in Iran today.
Right. From long times, I mean, ancient times, Iran has been a multicultural country. In fact, this cultural map is speaking by itself. And there are near a dozen tribes in Iran, ethnicities in Iran, each with a different speaking language and local culture. But the official language, you may know that it's Farsi. Everybody has to learn, write, and read in Farsi. Persians are in central regions. They're shown in green color. They speak Farsi, but with different accents.
Ah,
Yeah, Azeris in northwest, they speak Turkish. Kurds in west speak Kurdish. Arabs and Lurs in southwest, and Baloch people in southeast. And in north of Iran, there are a few other smaller communities. Turkmen, I think, Mazani, and yeah, Gilak. But all also share some common culture as well. You will see in the next slides.
right, because there are many celebrations that they share one way or another.
Right.
Let's begin with another astronomically motivated celebration of the winter solstice.
Right. Yeah. So we have many celebrations in Iran as cultural inheritances from our Persian ancestors. Uh, there was at least one celebration per month in all Iran. But here, let me just refer to three of them and start with Yalda. Yalda night is celebrated at the last night of fall, which is the longest night, as you know, as an astronomer, the longest night of the year in winter solstice. In that night, families, relatives, and friends, they get together, they stay awake mostly until the late night, and even until the sunrise. And besides Iranian foods, nuts, and desserts, the star of the Yalda night is a pomegranate fruit. So around December 20, Gene, if here in the US you saw there's no pomegranate left in stores, presumably Iranians are living around it.
I know, I see. So this is random, but I'll say it. I grew up in Greece, and what we used to do for the new year was to break a pomegranate at the door.
Oh,
And
really?
that was considered good luck to spread all the blessings of the seeds. Of course, it makes a mess, but that's another story.
That fruit actually originates from that Persian plateau. I mean, originally from there, and then transferred to different regions of the world.
Right. It's a beautiful fruit.
And delicious, of course.
And delicious. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
We're getting
Yeah.
closer to spring now.
Right. Yeah. This is a festival special for Zoroastrians. You may know that the religion of Persians before Islam was Zoroastrianism, and still a few thousands of them are living in the country. In their fire temples, they respect fire. For them, fire is a symbol of purity, innocence, and a source of light. In their culture, is a symbol of connection between skies and earth. And basically a symbol of unity and being together. You know, when there's a fire, people get around fire together. That's why. So the name of Sadeh means 100 days and nights remaining to the end of winter. In Zoroastrian community, they celebrate this event like what is seen in this picture. They make a large fire and stay around and then pray. So in the folklore of Iran, people say that after Sadeh, the weather gets warmer. But I have to say that, but I have to add here that all Iranians do a similar celebrations a few days before Nowruz. It's in the last Tuesday night of the year. Until the past midnight, they just make fires, jump from fire, and have fun.
Right, right.
And it's called Chorshanbe Suri.
I see. So this has been adopted more broadly.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I love the idea that one prepares for the new year by doing some house cleaning. I wish I could do a little more of that myself. Tell us, please, about this, what this looks like on the ground.
Yeah, preparation for the new year, in fact, starts a few weeks or even 2 months, I should say, in advance by cleaning living areas. People wash, clean every corner of the house, all items, all carpets.
Wow.
They take out everything from cabinets, clean them and put them back, organize everything. So hanging washed carpets is quite popular picture everywhere in that time. There is a reason behind. Persians believe that the year is getting new, so why not us? So they go shopping, buy new clothes, shoes, etc. So they become also new with the year.
Right. Okay, so preparing for feasts and a special food.
Yeah, this is as another custom. They cook a special pudding called samanu. The main ingredients are the juice of germinating wheat and the wheat flour. So they mix them together, boil and cook them for a few hours. The process is similar to, I don't know if you have seen, similar to the process of making maple syrup.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The outcome is a creamy paste in almost brown color, very nutritious and sweet. They add no sugar. It's sweet by itself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
And
this is one of the
concentrated. Yeah.
items of the Persian New Year. I mean, when they have parties, this is one of the desserts.
I see. And it's also, it has symbolic
Exactly.
significance. So this is a special table. You'll tell us about it. I just want to point out to our guests that the pudding that you just described is in the front left. And it
Yeah,
looks like, are there almonds also in the
yeah, they
pudding?
have decorated with almonds. It's not
Right.
quite, I mean, normal, but in this picture they have done. Yeah, this is basically this table of this perspective is the icon of the Persian New Year. This is called Haft Scene. And the principal items are 7 things, 7 objects or foods that their names start with the letter S. Let me say that letter S is seen in Farsi. And 7 because it's a holy number. So starting from the front, Samanu is a symbol of power. It's because it's very nutritious. And then we have garlic, which is a symbol of health. The Persian olive, kind of reddish or maybe orange in orange color. It's a symbol of love. And then we have sumac. It's a kind of spice popular in Middle East, a symbol of sunrise or a symbol of restart. Uh, some people put coin instead of sumac as a symbol of richness, of course. And then we have apples, symbol of beauty, and vinegar, symbol of patience. And then at the end, in front of the mirror, we have, in Persian, we call it sabzi. It's a dish including a growing wheat. I mean, some growing wheats. Yeah, in Persian, if I want to say the names in Farsi, it's sabze, sirke, sib, sumak, senjed, sir, and samanu. So at the time of converting from the old new to the new year, usually all family members sit around this half scene and wish each other the best for the year ahead. So right at the time of the spring equinox, the new year starts, followed by music and celebration.
Right.
I should say that I said gathering, but one important aspect of Nowruz is just that relatives and friends, they get together and they become aware of the situation of each other. They visit and revisit. I mean, if I go and visit somebody, he or she has to come and visit me again in that time.
Right.
But
That's right.
this also has a different benefit, another benefit, because, I mean, gathering just amplifies friendships. So if even 2 persons are kind of upset from each other, in Norse they forget, and then they come back and become friends again.
Oh, good. Reconciliation.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is a special dinner. Now, I'm going to say that the best rice I've ever had was Persian rice,
Right.
long grain, and it really was magnificent.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised to see that it has central stage on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, in Middle East, in India, I mean, the style of cooking rice is a little bit different. And yeah, I mean, kind of this, they are separated grains after cooking. Yeah, the traditional dish for dinner in the eve of the new year is dill or herb rice and fish. Of course, I should say that different regions and different ethnicities, I mean, they have their own foods for the new year too. But this is a kind of well-known food for that night. Yeah.
Yeah. More parting. Please tell us about these traditions around a
Yeah,
Nowruz.
of course. So besides the custom that I talked about, people in every region of Iran, and even in the countries around Iran, such as in Central Asia, Afghanistan, North Iraq, or in Azerbaijan, in Turkey, they have their own culture and celebrations. For instance, for the left side, you see a parade in north of Iran. They put the hafsin, item of hafsin on top and just walk and present those. Or they have, like in the right side, it's in, I think in Kurdistan, they have kind of regional games, dancing, yeah, this kind of folkloric events or traditions.
And a time of vacation, right? This is a time where people have 2 weeks to prepare and celebrate the new year. And they visit, you told me, they visit many important shrines around the country.
Yeah, you know, the New Year holiday is like here. I mean, it's in Iran, it's about 2 weeks. And so nothing is better than traveling and vacation. So going to historical and natural sites is, again, very common. And a favorite city is Shiraz, because Persepolis, as well as Pasargadi, the memorial of Cyrus, are both near Shiraz. And people go there, travel there. Why? That's because Nowruz, or Persian New Year, in fact, became a formal celebration by Achaemenid Empire in 2,500 years ago. So that's why people just respect Persepolis, Cyrus, and Shiraz. Yeah. And in the right side, it's, I think, a memorial of Hafiz, who is a Persian poet. Also, people go and visit.
I love the idea that people pay respects to poets. I really love that. And
Yeah.
I'm just pointing out to our audience that some of those special items of the half scene are displayed on the left.
Yeah, exactly. And you see, it's near the tomb of Cyrus in Pasargadi.
Now the parties always come to a close, so this is the end of it.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. In the last day of the New Year holidays, which is the day 13, families get out for a picnic, outdoor picnic, in parks and natural sites. They do barbecue, they play games, and have other fun activities together. And the habit, as a habit, is and they leave their sabzi, that kind of green dish, in the nature. In the end of that day, I should say that when they come back home, everybody is usually sad because holidays are finished, done, and they should go back to school or work.
We all have that Sunday blues kind of feeling. Yes. So we've talked a little bit about food. So we did point out pomegranates before. I do want to point out, well, actually, maybe I should let you, but I'm just wanting to show the beautiful, I'm going to say my thing, and that's the beautiful figs.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Fresh figs are special. Anyway, but there's other things here. Please tell us.
Yeah, the items that you see in this picture, these are special of Iran: saffron, fig, pomegranate, pistachio. These are the iconic non-oil products of Iran. Yeah, and I think I would say saffron is almost in every Iranian food, or 90% of Iranian food. You will see in the next slide, I think.
I didn't have a chance to ask you before, but I don't know what are the red?
Yeah, that one in the top corner on the left, you mean? They are dates. This is this is a palm tree, and they go on top in this way, and then they take dates out.
I see.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I should know that. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Now I'm really keen on food. So tell us a little bit about these dishes here. The kebab, of course, we all know.
Yeah.
What would be the main meat that's used in the kebab?
Yeah, in Iranian cuisine, it's usually it's lamb and then chicken. It's not like beef as here in the US. So I should say, like many other countries, the main ingredients for Iranian foods, they are meat, rice, grains, and potato, I would say. In Middle Eastern cuisine, a food without meat is like a person without father and mother.
I
Yeah,
see.
yeah, exactly. Persian foods are mostly based on slow cooking. Most of them takes a few hours. So patience is a key factor in Persian cooking style. So for example, in America, if an American marries to an Iranian, then the American side must be patient. Otherwise, they will file a divorce.
Because dinner is not going to be ready now.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
So the
Well,
favorite
planning is
dish, as I
required.
said, is lamb and chicken. And the Iranian food is usually served with rice and bread. And for salad, Iranians are very interested in eating raw herbs with their foods, such as raw parsley, cilantro, green onions, radish, and so on. They are usually on every dinner table. As you said, Persian kebab is quite famous, served with saffron rice. And then the other food that you see in this picture, in the larger one, is called Gourmet Sabzi. It's to make that a few aromatic herbs. They are chopped, fried, and mixed together with meat, beans, and dried lemon. And then they are cooked for a few hours and then served with rice.
And you did point out that probably the word in French gourmet came from this Persian word, or this Farsi.
I think, I mean, in my knowledge, I think it comes from Farsi.
It's too close to be otherwise.
Oh, I
Yeah.
think I could say it. Yeah.
So I'm curious about the two dishes along the diagonal. Can you tell us about the top right dish?
Yeah, the other one, yeah, it's called Gourmet. It's a mixture of split chickpeas with lamb, tomato paste, and again dried lemon. They are cooked for a few hours and then decorated with fries and served with rice again, saffron rice. And in the bottom, you see kind of giant meatballs. They are
Mhm.
popular in the city of Tabriz, in north west of Iran. They are basically stuffed giant meatballs. They're cooked in tomato paste and served with bread.
Wow. Okay, so now that we've satisfied ourselves, at least hopefully in principle, in the food department, let's look at some of the art. And a civilization as old and as large as yours, of course, will have lots of art. So we decided to focus a bit on the things that are very particular to Persian culture.
Right, yeah. So like the other regions of the world, Iran has also its own architecture. In this picture, you see two types of Persian architecture. On the right side, you see mirror works. I mean, little pieces of mirrors in different geometrical shapes. They are attached to walls and ceilings, not by nails, but by plaster and mud. And then they make such a beautiful perspective. Uh, I should say that it takes years and even decades sometimes to finish a building like this. On the left, you see a place I think in Isfahan. In that, for that one, instead of mirror, they attach little pieces of ceramic uh, already uh, enameled and polished, and then they are attached to the buildings by plaster, and make such amazing and gorgeous views. You should really, I mean, be there and observe by yourself. You see what I mean? To really see what I mean. It's really fantastic.
Even this, what a picture allows, is gorgeous. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't get over the glimmer, it's such a special, that effect of the mirrors is really something I've never seen in a still building. It really almost looks alive.
Yeah, you know,
It's gorgeous.
reflection of light in tiny mirrors makes such a beautiful uh, perspective.
Yeah. Now this is something you have a personal connection to. Persian rugs, of course, we've all heard of.
Yeah.
Tell us about these beautiful rugs, handmade.
Yeah, of course. In my view, Persian carpet is a perfect example of the magnificence of the Iranian art. There is a beautiful harmony in design, symmetry, color, and quality, of course. Usually, women, I mean, weave carpets,
Mhm.
either alone or as a group as you see in this picture, either by looking on the well-designed patterns or just by heart. Even there are a few carpet universities in Iran now.
Wow.
So yeah, the city that I was born, called Kerman, is one of the carpet centers of Iran. Yeah. And for example, in the middle of this picture, you see a very old Persian carpet. I think it's about 2,000 years old,
Wow.
which is said to be the oldest carpet discovered so far. And I think it was discovered in southern Russia, in Caucasus, I think. I'm very dogmatic about Persian carpet.
I was going to say, you might have some advice. Maybe if people are interested, I know that people go to great lengths to sometimes find authentic items. You might have some advice. Now, there is a family connection.
Exactly, and let me tell you that. In fact, my mom was a carpet weaver. She has been retired, of course, but all carpets in my mom's house, they were made by herself.
Wow.
So I know some carpet weaving as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
learned it from my mom.
Yeah. That is beautiful.
Right. Yeah.
A different kind of craft.
Yeah. There are other handicrafts which are also common in different cities of Iran. I should say that. Here you see a girl painting on a ceramic or maybe a metallic flower pot. And the city of Isfahan is well known a place for these kind of manual arts in Iran. Yeah.
And music.
Yeah, like every part of the world, I mean, classic Iranian music has its own instruments. Here you see a few of them, I think 10, mostly 10. They are stringed, wind instruments, Persian percussion on top in black color, Persian violin, maybe we say left side, and then kind of Persian guitar. It's called tar and sitar, or yeah, similar to guitar. I mean, the construction. But those that one in trapezoid shape is called a Persian santur, which is played by two hammers. I think you are gonna play a
Play
few
some.
seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. Music travels, the saduri, we call it in Greek.
Really?
Yeah, it travels all over the world.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
so let's look at some places. We won't have time to go to all the places that we would like to, but let's look at some of the important sites and cities in Iran today.
Yeah, I should say that so far, more than 30,000 historical sites in Iran, they have been registered, and this number is growing. Some of them are recognized as World Heritage Sites by UNESCO, and a few of them, such as Persepolis and those in Isfahan, I already showed them to you. But here, let me just go to present a few other sites. Because this is Naqsh Rostam near Persepolis, and it's from 2,500 years ago. There are memorials of 4 Iranian kings, from Achaemenids until Sasanians. And the cube is called the Zoroaster cube. And the memorial is in front of that is a cliff. The memorial in front of that cliff is called, I think, yeah, let me say in this way. This cube is called Zoroaster cube, and the memorial in front of that on the mountain is called, I think it's the memorial of Darius. Darius
Oh,
one.
wow, that is right. Okay.
We call it Darius in Farsi. And then we have Xerxes next to it, and then Artaxerxes, and then Darius 4.
Oh, wow.
3, yeah.
Even I know these
Oh,
kings.
yeah. Yeah, I know. We
interacted at some point.
Remarkable.
Now, this is a village that's been inhabited for more than 3,000 years.
Yeah.
Tell us about how
Yeah.
it works.
This is a village from the Stone Age, I should say, in southeast of Iran, and it's at least 12,000 years old and continuously inhabited for about 3,000 years. All cave houses in the rocks are made by hand. It's believed that this village is one of the earliest living sites in the Iranian plateau.
Wow.
They are now kind of preparing a few of these houses as a guest house for people who want to visit. Yeah, but I should say that I said 12,000 years, but it doesn't mean all have been constructed at that time. But by time, people have added more and more. There are, I think, around 300 houses in that village.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, my guess is that they're built in the rock so that they're cooler in the summertime
Exactly.
and perhaps warmer in the winter if that's an issue.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, this is called the Taht Soleiman, or Throne of Solomon. This is an archaeological site in northwest of Iran. There are several stories about that. Some historians believe that Zoroaster was born here, Prophet Zoroaster. And there is a temple from Sasanians as well. And also some buildings from Mongols from about 700 years ago. And there's a lake, which is, I think, it's kind of natural lake in the middle. And there's a volcano on the other side, on the back of this picture. And you see that volcano from a kind of overhead picture of that volcano here. And the diameter of that is about 70 yards. It's called Prison of Solomon. A few years back, actually, I was there. It's quite beautiful and, of course, scary.
Yes, a little steep.
Yeah.
Yes. A more commercial, I guess, region or habit of putting things in bazaars. I love
Right.
this word. In Tabriz, tell us about this.
Yeah, in each city of Iran, there is a traditional and historical shopping center called, as you said, bazaar. These are the heart of the economy in Iran, and anything under the sun can be found in there. In Persian, we say anything from chicken milk until human life. It's a kind of word by word translation. Yeah.
I understand.
Most of these bazaars are built or updated in Safavid and Qajar kingdoms. Yeah, these are nice places to walk.
Yes. Yes. And I can see
Smell of
that the
tradition.
way.
You walk in there, the kind of smell of, do you see what I mean? Smell of tradition, old times. You can really feel that.
And the spices surely
Of
must.
course. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. But what I was thinking was they're usually open on both sides, so that also keeps the breeze going, so it doesn't get too stifling hot, I presume.
Exactly. When some parts, when you walk, it's just smell of cumin.
Oh, I love it. Oh, and a garden. Oh, a garden. Take us to a garden, please.
Right. Gardening is a favorite of Iranians, I should say. For example, Cyrus had a personal garden called Paradise, containing trees and plants from all around his empire. I think now Pasargadi, or his tomb, is in fact in that garden. It has been disappeared, but the watering system around that is still in there. And this is called Shazde Garden or Prince Garden. Is near the city of Kerman. It's in the edge of the Lut Desert. Yeah, and originally it was a kind of summer resort for the governor of the Kerman around 200 years ago, but now it's just kind of a touristic site. And the water system is Qanat. And it comes from the mountains that you see far from that, about 20 miles far from that. Everywhere around that is dry, but this garden is quite, and the trees are also almost 200 years old. They are original trees.
Wow. I just want to acknowledge what you said, so people pay attention, that there is an ancient system to carry water from the mountains, from, I presume, melting snow, to a place in the middle of the desert so you can make an oasis just like that. And I guess this way of doing it was borrowed by other people nearby.
Yeah, it's called qanat. They make a long, a deep well near the source of water and the underground water, and then a series of wells connecting by tunnels together, and then water is transferred to the surface. And it was invented by Persians, and but now it has been kind of can be found in China, other countries in Middle East, North Africa, even in Mexico.
Right. Well, a good idea is adopted.
Yeah, yeah.
Now we've talked about people as nations, as ethnicities, but let's highlight some of your favorite individuals.
Yeah, maybe some of them. This is Al-Khwarizmi. He was a Persian mathematician and astronomer in about 800 years ago. I just briefly say that the name algebra and algorithm comes from from him, from the translation of his name to Latin, from to Arabic first and then Arabic to Latin. So these two names, famous names, come from him.
Please say his name again.
Al-Khwarizmi.
Khwarizmi.
Yeah.
This should be a household name if he started basically algebra, right?
Yeah.
I was thrilled when I saw
Yeah.
this important woman in the presentation. Please tell us who she is.
Sure, yeah. She is Professor Mariam Mirzakhani. Before that, let me tell you that there are many Iranian people who I'm proud of. And as an advocate of Persian poetry, some Iranian poets really they inspire me. But here, let me just introduce the first person who really inspires me. Who was the first woman received a Fields Medal in mathematics in 2014, and you know that it's a kind of equivalent to Nobel Prize.
Right.
And every 4 years, it's given to a mathematician for his or her pioneering work in mathematics. Professor Mirzakhani was an Iranian woman, graduated from Iran, then Princeton, and then Harvard. And then she became a professor at Stanford. But unfortunately, she passed away in 2017 from cancer, which is sad.
It is sad, but we honor her memory and we admire her.
Of course.
Poets, you say. Poets, tell us about Rumi.
Yeah, exactly. As I said already, I'm a fan of Persian poetry. So here I briefly talk about two poets. Rumi is one of them, one of the greatest Iranian poets of all times, I should say. His mystic and romantic poems have many fans, especially in Great Persia. His book, Masnavi, that I think you...
Do we have a picture? Yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Yeah, his book Masnavi is translated to different languages, such as English. He was born in current Afghanistan, but he was Persian, and his memorial is in Konya in Turkey. So some people say that he was born in our country, so he belongs to us. Some say his grave is in our country, so he is for us. But I should say that he was a Persian poet, and an immoral inheritance who belongs to the whole world, I should say.
Yeah. Beautiful. One more.
The second poet, Sadi. He's famous and as a kind of master of Persian poetry and literature. There is an Iranian carpet, including one of his famous poems, in the United Nations in New York City. So I'm not sure it can be seen there, but it's in the second ring from the center in orange part. This has been, kind of written in that ring. So if you like, I can read the poem in Farsi.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yeah, it says, The name of the poem is Bani Adam. So it says Bani Adam اعضای یک پیکرند که در آفرینش ز یک گوهرند. چو عضوی به درد آورد روزگار دگر عضوها را نماند قرار. تو که از مهنت دیگران بیغمی نشاید که نامت نهند آدمی. So in a brief translation, you saw that in the bottom, but a brief translation is that human beings are members of a whole, like parts of a body. So if one part is injured, the other parts react. So when you are indifferent about the other's kind of problems, you do not deserve to be named as a human being.
Right. Well, that's a lesson for us all to remember. Now, you don't necessarily do astronomy research now, but you did start your career as an astronomer. So tell us about your connection, your personal, but also your culture's connection to the celestial.
Yeah, in fact, astronomy has a close relation with our culture. You already saw that the Persian celebrations, such as Persian New Year, Yalda, they are based on some astronomical events. So it's, I mean, we say it's very connected to our culture. So here you see Rahman Sufi. He was an Iranian astronomer and mathematician who discovered a few nebulae and galaxies. Of course, at that time, they didn't know that this is galaxy, but as they found, or he found, in fact, those objects are not normal stars. Mm-hmm. And it has been said that the Andromeda galaxy was first reported by him about 1,000 years ago. And of course, as a non-star object, as I said.
Right.
A few centuries later, when they discovered, in fact, they invented telescope, people realized that that is, in fact, a galaxy, not a nebula, but he was right. It was not a star.
Not a star, right. I mean, some gorgeous pictures in archaeological and natural sites.
Yeah. The left side is the night sky of Iran on top of Cyrus' tomb in Shiraz. I should say that the sky of Iran is, especially in the central regions, is very clear and fantastic during night. I should say that. For example, in this, the left side, you see, I think in the northern desert of Iran, desert Kebab, central desert of Iran. And you can see clearly the Milky Way. Without even telescope, you can count the stars. You can touch the stars when you are in there. And in fact, the National Observatory of Iran is also being constructed with a mirror of about 3.5 meters.
Oh.
Yeah, with an optical telescope. They will, I think, it will be ready for operation about 2 or 3 years, I think. Maybe the biggest telescope in the Middle East, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think it helps that it's so dry. That definitely improves the visibility, doesn't it? Here are some more images.
I'm sorry?
I'm just looking. I'm actually seeing Orion here. And we have
this
some
is also
other...
the night sky of the north of Iran and in the Lut Desert. I have been there, and I have. You mean it's quite different than the night sky here. No clouds. I mean, you can just feel everything in the sky in some way. It's very beautiful, I say.
Now, this you had.
In fact, that was the main reason. Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Because of that sky, I became interested in astronomy.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So I think we should encourage, in fact, people to ask questions. And I do want to thank you, first of all, Ahmad, for this beautiful presentation. It really is lovely to take a tour with you of your country and your culture. I would also like to thank Victoria, who keeps our technical aspects afloat, to Victoria Robinson, our assistant director, and Mia Dreyer, who did a wonderful job of designing the program with the pictures that you selected. I also would like to thank the College of Letters and Science and the Center for Gravitation, Cosmology, and Astrophysics for supporting the planetarium, and of course, our lovely audience who is here with us. We thought that while people are kind of collecting their thoughts and putting questions forward, what do you miss most about Iran?
Yeah, what I miss is many things. I mostly miss the traditional atmosphere of Iran, walking in very old monuments. There are many places in my home country which I like to visit, at least some of them before I die. And I miss a kind of walking and staying in desert in Iran. I was born in a city near desert. I remember that when I was a kid, in summer with my friends and brothers, we used to sleep on the roof during summer. We could enjoy watching the beautiful sky and hear stories from each other, share memories together, play together. These are the things that I miss.
Right.
All of them are from my childhood. So, yeah.
Yeah. Now, these are...
Yeah, you saw it. These are the things I talked about. This is in the top corner, you see the picture of the Lut Desert. On the bottom, people are sleeping on the top of the roof, which is quite amazing. And then on the right side, it's the city of Yazd. Coffee shops, restaurants, they are kind of in a very old architecture. It's very beautiful. I like these perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So this is where this would be your favorite place to visit?
Exactly, because the city I was born has a kind of similar
feeling?
Yeah, exactly. Similar feelings, similar pictures.
Now, oops, okay. So then I guess I can stop sharing and we can take questions that we have.
Sure.
And Victoria, I guess, can lead that.
Nathan has a question. Do you cook traditional dishes? And if so, what's your specialty?
Yeah, people around me, they tell me, you are a good cook. Yeah, I can. I have kind of experience on that because I was in dorms when I was student in Iran. I had to cook myself. And so I had to learn that. You know, at least I can eat whatever I cook. This is
And do you have a specialty?
Yeah. I'm sorry?
Do you have a specialty?
Yes, kebab. I mean, I can make, Persian kebab.
So what's the marinade? What's the secret ingredient?
Of the Persian kebab? Well, it's not quite different than the others. We marinate that with onion, saffron, olive oil, and then some salt and black pepper. Yeah, these are the main things.
I like how you casually say saffron. Do you, you just have saffron in your house, of course.
As I said, in 90% of the Iranian foods, it's just saffron is in there.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Because of aroma, color.
I don't, one time I made this really delicious dish. I don't know if this is something you'd be familiar with. I think it was in an Afghani cookbook, but it was lamb stew with rhubarb. And at the time I was thinking, this is weird. But when I had it, it was really delicious. It was like, it was savory.
In general, Middle Eastern foods are delicious. I mean, Jean, you are from Greece, and there are kind of similarities in that region between Mediterranean and Middle Eastern cuisines. They are pretty similar. So all are delicious, I should say. Yeah.
It is a fact. We have another question from Nathan. What are the origins of the Iranian calendar, if you know?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Actually, there were several calendars in Iran from a few thousand years ago. First, I think, or let's say the most important one, which is based on the solar orbit of the Earth, is from Achaemenid Empire, 2,500 years ago. but then around 1,000 years ago, a few mathematicians and astronomers, the famous one was, I think, Khayyam. They kind of improved the calendar, and the origin of the calendar, they put it in the same calendar of Arabs. I think it was Hijra. I mean, the migration of Prophet Muhammad from Mecca to the other city. So they put it in that, and it's different, but it's different from Arabic calendar. Arabic calendar is kind of based on the lunar orbit, but the Persian calendar is one of the most accurate calendars. It's based on the solar orbits. It start at the time, the first day of spring, 4 seasons, and then 12 months like the other normal calendars. And yeah, this year is special. I mean, especially today is the last day of 14th century of Persian calendar. From tomorrow, the new century will start.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Well, this is a big, big one.
1401. So tomorrow is the first day of 1401 Iranian year, Persian year.
Is there anything special, like a special celebration that you're gonna do, or?
I don't think, because of COVID. I mean, unfortunately, everywhere they are just.
But there would be if it was.
I think,
normal.
yeah. I mean, kind of. There would be, but if it was a normal year, I should say that many celebrations could be even kind of more and more.
I see. We have lots more questions coming in.
Oh, interesting.
Which Persian food do you recommend for other people to try?
It's very
Where to start?
difficult to say. Maybe you can start with Persian kebab, but yeah, those giant meatballs I recommend. Of course, you cannot find them, I think, in restaurants here, maybe in Chicago. Then Gourmet Sabzi also is delicious. Some people may not like it, but I would say most of people, they enjoy it.
I've had it. It's really good.
Yeah.
I heard. What about cooking wise? If someone were to cook something themselves, what would be something good to start with?
Say your question again.
Yeah, if someone was going to cook something themselves, what would be a good thing to start with?
Yeah, the easiest one is the chicken kebab. So just marinate that with onion and lemon juice, saffron, or you don't have saffron, just forget about that. Maybe some garlic paste, and then marinate that overnight, and the day after you can, especially spring and summer are just coming. So this is the best and easiest thing. So they make pieces and then on a skewer and then put it on fire. This is one of the easiest things.
Nice. Let's see. Are holidays observed as paid time off?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
As far as I remember.
You may or may not.
Usually, it's mostly holidays for students and university teachers or school teachers. The others have only 5 days. From the 1st of Nowruz until the day 4 or 5, I think. After that, they have to go to work.
So they don't get the whole 2 weeks.
It's like that, but some of them, they just, they use
Take vacation.
Mhm.
Yeah. But the day, some of the New Year days, they are especially holidays, and everywhere is off. Like the day 13 is just kind of off. I mean, no one works unless those emergency jobs.
Yes. So you may or may not want to answer this one. You can say yes or no. What are the top 3 things that you feel Americans misunderstand about Iran?
Well, the common picture that Americans have about Iran is, I think, based on TV shows and news, which is not quite right. I would say the government, in many places of the world, governments do not reflect people necessarily. And this is, I think, the case for Iran. So what they see in news, in the internet, I mean, it's not really correct. You have to go there and see. They are very friendly people. If you go and say you are American, they will invite you, and then they don't allow you to just even pay. They just really respect you. They like Americans, and they like, I mean, people from other countries. One of the reasons is that they want to say, they want to prove that we are not, I mean, like governments. We are different. Persians are different. So they want to prove this to you. So if you go there and you say, I come from America, you don't need to pay anything. So this is one thing that I should say. Yeah. You said three things. Yeah, this is the major, I think, mistakes that I think Americans have about Iranian people.
Yeah. Let's see. We have a question. If you travel to Iran and come back here, what kind of gift or souvenir would you bring back from Iran for your friends? Like what would be a common gift?
Well, if I have money, I mean, I buy a Persian carpet, even those little ones, seriously. And I have done so for some of friends. But usually pistachio is popular. Also saffron, again, I say that, but it's one of the popular gifts from Iran. The other thing is some souvenirs from Isfahan, those handicrafts that you saw. They are not that expensive, but they are manual art, so they are beautiful. Those are the things I think they'll. But as I've seen or heard, I mean, all tourists, they go to Iran, they bring a carpet, at least a small carpet.
Let's see. Tevi asks, in Iran, do people mostly prefer tea or coffee?
Tea is very kind of popular. Coffee, in some big cities, they have coffee shops, but tea from, I think, a century, even more, is very popular. And they drink that with a cube of sugar. It's not like a sweet, make sugar inside. It's just cube of sugar, they put in mouth, and then they drink tea. And this is borrowed, I think, from Russia somehow, maybe.
I've heard that, yeah.
Or
So
India, I don't know. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. We have one more question here, unless I see any more coming in. Would you recommend any musicians in particular to sample traditional Iranian music?
Yeah, traditional Iranian music, there are many, but the most famous person I can tell you is Master Shajarian. He passed away a few months ago. I think if you just look search in YouTube.
Can you spell the first word or like?
Yeah, it's a Shajar. Let me see. I mean, it's Shajarian. Shajj.
I think I found it.
Raan. Yes. Yeah.
Mohammed?
Yeah, Mohammad Reza Shajarian.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll put that in the chat.
Yeah, I mean, there are, of course, I mean, some just instrumental music from Iran. You can just search in YouTube. They are also nice.
I don't see any more questions here. I have a question. Do you do any gardening?
Here, of course. I mean, I love gardening.
Me too.
Exactly. I have a little garden, and I prepare the herbs that I talked about, some special herbs myself.
Do you grow them at home?
Yeah.
In pots or?
Yeah, such as Persian basil, some tarragon, I would say, yeah, this stuff. And as I said, as a Persian, I like to eat raw herbs with my food. So that's why I try to make that. It's just a kind of fun activity during summer.
Yes. Yes. Cool. I don't see any more questions.
Well, is your son growing anything? Have you taught your son to grow things?
No, he's not a fan of these things. Just, I am a traditional person. Maybe I don't know, because I spent about 28 years in my home country. So I learned that from my grandpa, my father. It's kind of transferred to me, but I've not been able to transfer that to my children yet.
I didn't
That
get
might
into it
happen.
until I was in my mid-20s, so there's time.
Yeah.
And the reason I think main reason I got into it was so I could have herbs.
Yeah, you should try that. Actually, it's interesting. Instead of salad, instead of normal salads, you can try that.
Just munch on.
Yeah.
On dill.
Yeah.
Okay, I like herbs, so yeah. Okay. Well, do you have any last thoughts, anybody? I don't see any more questions. Do you have any questions, Jean?
Well, I guess my question is, I wish that we can get together soon, Ahmad,
Yeah.
so that we can maybe share some food together. So
Of
this is a formal invitation, the moment.
I still
moment
miss the
we can.
last time I was, you invited me and just, we had dolma, I think dolma together. Remember? I
Mhm.
missed that day.
Yeah.
We have it that in Iran as well.
Yes. So that's food that we share for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's pray that COVID-19 just goes away.
Yes. So we will hold on to that thought. After
Okay.
all, we're celebrating spring and renewals.
Yeah.
I want to thank you again so much for this
Thank
wonderful
you.
presentation.
It was a pleasure, a great honor to be here and talk about my home country. I hope I was able to kind of represent or present my country in some way different than what you see or people see in the news. I tried that, but I don't know.
You did.
And I have to say that these days I was quite busy. I could make it much better, but I was very busy. So if there was some problems, issues, and
No. I think,
I apologize for that.
in fact, so here is the truth. One of the things I was thinking about with this series is I want, when people think about Iran, to think about you. I mean, they might think of other things too, but I thought you would be such a wonderful representative of the country. So thank you for doing that for us, opening our eyes.
Thank you for your kind words. And thank you, Victoria, and also Mia, for your great job for making these slides together. Thank you very much.
Yes, it's our pleasure. And there's many thank yous coming in from the chat, from people who said thank you for the fun and informative presentation and for sharing your stories and your childhood. And
Thank you.
I enjoyed it too. So
Thanks to the audience.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
good night, everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good night to the YouTube audience.
Bye.